Boy, you want to talk about getting the good out of something before you send it off to get rebuilt. I got a 372 extra torque. We're going to do, well, the case is already split, bearings, seals, new top end. Got some other wear parts that are going to get replaced while we're here. So let me take you along for the ride. We got, I mean, it's a work saw. This has all been degreased, like, for the most part. And some of this stuff just doesn't come out. Now, obviously, the flywheel and the ignition coil were in the way, so I'm going to clean up the cases. I got a quick rhetorical question. Don't mind me throwing out $20 words to you simpletons, but you know what the difference in between a car wash and a detail shop is? About $200. So I'm going to clean up the case as best I can. That's as clean as it's going to get. Some of this dirt's going to go back with the owner, but we'll get a nice clean mating surface here. I'm not real fond of these Husky gaskets because they kind of become one. Even though there's no gasket maker, you really have to go in with a nice clean straight edge and a wire brush to get all of that gasket material off. All right, that's now he switched over to XP Plus. We talked about this when I pulled the top end, but obviously that's not XP Plus's doing. I mean, this saw's got 1,000,000 miles on it, and it needs, well, everything. This one stings. So we got a delaminated leg on our coil. On the bright side, these, you can take a coil off like a 350, which I have a part saw that's got a good coil on it, so we're going to put that on there. These coils from Husky are incredibly expensive for what they are, considering that they go on some of the more low budget saws. What else was all goobered up? Clutch has got some really excessive wear on it. I don't know if you can, there's a divot right there. So the clutch is toast. Those are very expensive as well. Let's see, we'll get this crank cleaned up and get the baked on carbon off of it. Should be shiny as a new penny. New rubber as well. This tank vent just fell out when I was taking this apart. Anyway, we're gonna do some new rubber, but I've got a handy idea with this, and Buddy Joe turned me onto it, because those just seat in this hole. I'm gonna clear that out, run some just regular fuel line in there, make sure I've got a interference fit, and then run that up into the case and put one of these bell type things on. This style of tank vent from Husky is not very swift. They're supposed to snap in, but they will just pop out. These are on the 395s as well, and again, I'm not a big fan, so we're gonna ditch that, clear this out, run some fuel line in there, and then attach it to just a remote bulb, and that'll be in the carb box. I got my work cut out for me. We're getting some performance work done on this as well. New top end. We got new bearings and seals to go in here as well, because got the good out of that. Anyway, let's polish up this turd and get her back to her original fighting weight. We're also going to do a muffler mod on here. Stick around and I'll show you what I do. And I just buy Dino Joe's cheap stamp deflectors and do a little arts and crafts with some rib nuts. This is like the perfect weight or gauge of material with just some regular tin snips. This stuff really, whoops, look out. You can actually do a nice job cutting this without a whole lot of effort. So with that being said, stick around and let's put this thing back together. Okay, slight change of plans. I lost a couple, or at least one of the ball bearings before I pulled this out, and I'll leave this for another day. my easy option was to grab a spare case half. I had a 365 part saw. This one's actually in better shape, lower hour, that got crushed. The other side of the case was no good, so I'll deal with the original case. But anyway, this is all cleaned up, nice and tidy, and we're ready to go back together again with some fresh bearings and a gasket. So I used my bench grinder with a brass wheel. Be careful, even, this magnesium's soft. You don't want to distort these mating surfaces, because that gasket's only going to be able to absorb so many imperfections in the surface. I'll go back over this with a utility knife, razor blade, and get the last little bit of that off. Just don't, anyway, enough gabbing. We'll put this bastard back together. All right, case is back together, seals are installed. I still need to trim off my little nubs, my case gasket. PTO seals installed. Everything's all cleaned up, looking good. And then, I go drop the oil line back in the case, and I grab the oil pump to clean it up and put it back in. And I happened to notice when I took that out that the worm gear's all chewed up. Well, surprise, surprise, surprise. It's a bunch of melted nylon gear. So if you think I'm cleaning that up and trying to get all that crap out of there, you must. All right, so back to the old donor saw. Golly. Sometimes you just got to let this stuff go. So we got a nice gear, nice clean oil pump, and I'm going to keep moving. All right, a little quick peek at the handiwork here. Lower work, upper work, yada, yada, yada. Got everything chamfered nice. That's what I got for that. Anyway, muffler next, and we can get the rest of this box of stuff put back where it belongs. Anyway, y'all sit tight. We'll keep moving along. Take two. So, got my hole drilled, my riv nut. First thing you want to do is install your riv nut on here. Make sure you see a little bit pop out. Then you gotta have some kind of buffer in between, and I'm just using this right here. So I'll lean down on that, and then tighten this old rascal up. Oops, come on. Not a whole lot of talking with that, but you get the gist of it. So that mushrooms that out, and it bites and compresses this muffler deflector to the muffler. Then we'll take one more this is terrible. So disorganized today. Anyway, so when you're done with that, just so this is all nice and tidy, I just get that same M5. There we go. And there's your muffler deflector. Okay, so this rascal's all back together. It was a little funky. I ran into some more issues. There's just a couple of them. The clutch and the ignition coil, and Thank goodness I had a nice part saw to pull stuff from. Here's how our muffler mod turned out. I've already heat cycled this. You know, that's nice and tidy. I apologize for making you watch me struggle with the rib nut install. Sometimes it goes super smooth, and the first one did. We'll take this out tomorrow and do some test cuts with it. Here, let me put you in the stand real quick. You know, you never know what you're going to get into. Yeah, let me tighten this up a little bit. So I had a small air leak, and not from any of my handiwork, but there's a new carburetor on here at some point in time that I wasn't aware of. In the RWJ carburetors with these tiny M4 long studs that hold the carburetor and the intake elbow to the boot, there's plastic studs that go in the holes to keep it centered. It wasn't centered, and there was just a whisper of an air leak over on one side. So anyway, got that tidied up. She revs, runs, idles, and settles right down like she should. We'll take it out tomorrow. I'm gonna bring this to work with me, and we'll do some test cuts with it. I feel like she's gonna be a good runner. Anyway, so stay tuned, and tomorrow test cuts. All right, so at the end of the day yesterday, when I finally got this 372 together, I was a little frustrated. So, you know, anyway, we finally got it all back together, sorted out every last issue, all the worn parts and everything, and it runs like a champ now. Just wanted to say thanks for everybody following along with this one. That little bit with the rib nut installation, I was out of patience. So sorry if that was a little clumsy. You could skip through that. Let's run this, and we'll see how she does. Here we go. I am here to tell you, I don't think I've ever been so glad to be done with a saw. This poor thing, whew, tried my patience, to say the least. Got some nice hickory here, nice fresh sharp chain. She is done. All right, I know what you're thinking. Hey, Rich, you got different clothes on from that intro to go run it. Well, I ran it yesterday and there was still an issue. I had a lot of popping, clicking. There was a glitch in the donor coil that I put on there. I had to go dig through my part saws and find another coil that would fit the 372. Anyway, obviously that one runs a lot better. Yeah, that was a pretty trying restoration, so to speak. Anyway, you guys are here at the end. Appreciate you. Don't forget to like, share it, and subscribe. Don't cost a thing.